Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I am reading a story, The Visitor. This story is written by me. It bears no resemblance to any person who is living or dead. If any of the persons or in any part of the story resembles anyone you know, it's just your imagination. With this disclaimer, I start reading this short story, The Visitor. The first time I saw him, he was swimming crazy against the flooding, muddied water behind our house in the village. It was almost dusk, and the rains made it look darker and gloomier. Many seemed to be astonished and thought at first it was someone who had accidentally slipped into the waters. Somebody who did not know the terrain well. The river had flooded and the water had risen up to almost our verandah from the kitchen side. But we knew 3 years of staying there that it would quieten and ebb away as swiftly as it had swelled up if only the rains would abate. It had been pouring incessantly for the past 2 days. Back to him. People had now, in spite of the rains, gathered on the banks that reached over the paddy fields yonder by now. Many tried to make wild guesses as to who it could be, who could be crazy enough to swim in the turbulent waters, and try to guess why. Some were trying to throw ropes at him, tied at one end to the badam tree, and gesticulating, asking him to climb up some way. The trees had bared roots over the years and seasons. Suddenly, he climbed out as mysteriously as he had jumped in and left without a word. Wait, someone shouted, but he just disappeared. I was watching the drama from the windows of my bedroom on the top floor. What struck me was his long locks and beard with nothing left of his attire. His bare body glistened with mud and grime, and the small shots stuck to his long legs like the last straw that kept him revealing from whom he was. I watched his back recede into the rain and sighed. This village had a set rhythm and seldom did anything to disturb it. Annie? The voice that called me was high-pitched and urgent. Coming, I shouted to be heard and skipped down the west stairs, bringing with me the wetness of the rain and shaking it away onto the carpet. Ivalde oru karyam, Mummy spoke in undertones with sufficient menace in her voice to let me know she was displeased. I raised my brows. Just see if you can untie the small one and the ewe and bring them inside. They are cold, I think. I went out through the kitchen onto the tiny raised up floor, almost like a small shed with an asbestos sheet above it. Everything looked dry and perfect. Are you cold? I asked, cuddling the little one, and looked questioningly at the sheep. She only bleated in reply. Better put you in, I spoke to myself, and just as I was about to lift the kid in my arms, I noticed something moving by the well. The scream that came out of my mouth was a reflex. I watched, rooted, as out of the shadows emerged the swimmer. Get me something to wear, he said, and I wondered whether he had never left. I scooped the little one in my arms, and the sheep followed me into the warmth and light of the big kitchen room. Once in, I hurriedly closed the door and thought quickly. The ewe and the lamb settled in the warm laid out from them in the corner of the storeroom as they were familiar with the space. The knock was distinct and clear. I ran out of the kitchen. Enna mole? Mummy asked, noticing my paleness and frightened face. I just pointed to the outside. Mone, torch eduthe. She nudged my brother lazing on the sofa, and her tone was sufficient for him to be up in a jiffy with a torch. My brother, barely 16, was a 6-footer and had a good physique. But suddenly I felt fear. "Poganda," I said, and took the torch and opened the door with Mummy and him into. In the torchlight we saw him crumpled up and barely able to sit up, just outside the door. "Ada?" Mummy asked. She was totally unaware of the drama that had taken place a few minutes before. She was someone who could scream a ghost out. No monkey business with her around. He asked me for something to wear, something dry. I said, "Mummy," assessed the situation, and together all of us sort of pulled him into the house. My brother said, "Call the police." "No," said Mummy, "he will go in the morning. For now, let him be here," she said, pointing to the small servant's room. No one occupied now. I frowned. To this day, I do not know why she did it. As far as I can remember, she has always been like that. Unpredictable. But could decide swiftly and nothing could change her mind once she had made it. "Evdana? Where from?" she asked. "Duren." "Far away from," came the feeble reply. She didn't ask anything else. Gave him food, kanji, kachamur, pickle to be exact, and watched him lap it up. Slowly he got up. Mummy signaled to my brother. He showed him the bathroom and gave him a set of fresh clothes and a towel. When he came out, he looked about 60. The long locks and beard had grayed. His eyes were sunken and sorrowful. He looked at us and wept uncontrollably. I couldn't attribute it to anything. Perhaps the cold, muddied waters were washing over him even now. Was this the man who had swum so furiously half an hour back, I wondered. "You can sleep here," Mummy said, as if to a child. Her tone was soft, almost loving. I thought she might even kiss him good night. She had laid new sheets and put out a blanket for him. "There's water in the kuja, and if you need anything, do ring the bell." He just nodded. Not sure if anything else should be done. I prepared to leave. "Let's go, Mummy," I said. Mummy and Mon followed suit, closing the main door that separated kitchen and the rest of the house. I looked at Mummy. She smiled as if to say, "Don't worry. It's okay." I shrugged. I was just 2 years older than my brother, but today I was sure I couldn't sleep alone. "Shall I sleep with you?" I asked Mummy. She nodded. I lay awake, listening to the rains, straining my ears to hear anything else. I do not know when I had slept off. Mummy slept the minute her head struck the pillow, the big torch at her side. It has been like that since I could remember. The 6-batteried ever-ready torch was always by her side, would serve as a weapon if she needed. She used to joke always, but I knew she meant it. Appa, Daddy. I do not remember him. He had left Amma and me and disappeared one fine day, God knows where. That's what I knew and was told every time I tried to ask. My mother was pregnant when he had left. My brother was born into this world as someone whose father was no more for all purposes. Mummy clamped shut if I tried to find anything more. Rosa's my best friend. Mother said when she, my mummy, came to this place, I was only 2, and she had told everyone that her husband had passed away, with no one to help, but with a roof to stay in and sufficient finances. Mummy managed to bring us up with pride and joy. I have never seen her cringe in front of anybody for any need, nor asking anyone when it came to decision making. She was just 26 when my brother was born. I know because of the hospital records, and the name of her father was entered as Jacob. The proverbial cheater, I mused. Don't you think we must find more about Daddy? I have asked Mom many times. Endina, he used to say. But one day he told me he wished he was alive and would come again. I could have cried. Mummy meticulously kept aloof from stupid men who tried to keep her alive, as if it was theirs to give anyway. Nobody dared to approach her with any unwanted intentions. She was lovingly referred to as Kadua Mariama, Tiger Mariama, by all. This place belonged to her, and everyone knew her as Mathayude Marimol, Matthew's daughter-in-law. I found it strange that she had taken the stranger in. I woke up with a start, hearing an unfamiliar voice humming near the well. I looked at Mon. He was sleeping, as usual, with a blanket pulled over his head. Mummy was up and about, and I found her in the kitchen. He's still there, not gone? I asked her in hushed tones, knowing the answer. It was too early, barely 3 a.m. The bed was neatly laid, and the figure that emerged from the back looked so